Hey everyone, it's Alex coming at you. That track you just heard was a track by this amazing composer, Alan Shorter, um, superimposed over a science fiction film that I think he talked about or referenced in an interview that he did, I think back in the 70s. So yeah, I just wanted to take the time and talk a little bit about Alan Shorter, who I think is one of the great, underrated, underappreciated jazz musicians really ever. So who was Alan Shorter? Alan Shorter was the brother of Wayne Shorter. Of course, Wayne Shorter, probably one of the most prolific figures really in the history of jazz. Other than like Herbie Hancock and like Anthony Braxton, Henry Threadgill, a few of these guys that have been around for 60 years. Wayne Shorter is really just one of the giants and one of the most prolific figures. And Alan was about a year older than Wayne, but really his career was so much took such an unusual path, really, starting with that composition that I played, which many of you might know from this record, from Wayne Shorter's record, The All-Seeing Eye from 1966. Mephistopheles, at least a version of it, is featured at the end of side 2 on here. Here with different lineup, Herbie Hancock, Ron Carter, Joe Chambers, Wayne Shorter on tenor, of course, Gresham on curve. The piece that I played, though, is featured on this album, and it's Mephistopheles, but I think this is the sort of the version that he really intended. It's almost twice as long as the version featured on All-Seeing Eye. If you've never seen this record before, well, it's because it's a oddball Italian reissue of this record, which perhaps a few of you are more familiar with. This is Marion Brown's debut on ESP, also from 1966. Featuring Alan Shorter playing trumpet here on most of the pieces. So Mephistopheles was supposed to be on this record. I'm not sure exactly why it got dropped. Perhaps some conflict with some of the other players. And so, this longer version of Mephistopheles didn't appear until, the 70s when, this record was reissued. In fact, the track Mephistopheles is not even, listed here. It's there, but it's still listed as Exhibition, which is the track that was originally recorded for that Marion Brown record. So, yeah, definitely a guy that just couldn't get any breaks, who, obviously lived in the shadow of his brother, I would say, but whose music is really infused with, a love of cinema, of film, that is filled with tension, that is filled with really amazing compositions. This is from 1967, so another Marion Brown record, and he has a composition here, another long version. He loved long track format. Many of his tracks are well over 10 minutes long, and in this one he has a composition, Idiotus, which again is sort of relegated to the last track of side B of this record. This is one that this is the Japanese pressing from 1966, was also issued like a lot of the Fontana releases in Europe. And again, another amazing track. A lot of his early compositions are really distinguishable from, this immediate tension that is brought on by the rhythm section. In this case, we have who we got? We got Beaver Harris on drums, and Reggie Johnson is part of the rhythm section, with some of the similar lineup as on the original Marion Brown record. But yeah, check out Idiotus. It's a beautiful, awesome, amazing track. And then we have his masterpiece, which I just referenced, from 1969, Orgasm, on the Verve label. Very strange. I mean, this is really the only true, new music of that period, as I'll call it, improvisational. Though again, I mean, Alan Shorter is just, at his core, he's a brilliant composer, in my opinion, more than even an improviser. And yeah, this probably is his real magnum opus, his real powerful statement. All original compositions by him, starting with the 13-minute long Parabola, and finishing with the 11-minute long Orgasm. And again, just that photograph, the titles of the tracks, just something you didn't see at all in the 1960s. Really interesting photograph there. Very unusual to see, sort of a provocative photograph of a jazz artist on any cover, much less something on Verve, in the 1960s. I'll read something briefly. I did find a fantastic article, and talking about this record specifically. They say, compositionally, the record is an utterly distinctive atmosphere. It's a cliche to apply notions of threat or unease to avant tonalities. Nonetheless, sinister is the operative word. An atmosphere drawing perhaps from Alan's love of the ambiguous spaces of horror and science fiction movies, spaces of waiting, of threat, of tension and anticipation, or of sorrow. The track Joseph is a tribute to Shorter's father, who died in a car accident on the way back from seeing Wayne perform with the Miles Davis Quintet. The pieces all have some sense of expectation, but of something almost entirely uncertain, an expectation of expectation. So I think that really kind of perfectly summarizes the compositional style here, which, again, is just really drawing upon that tension, the dread, and the long form format. Next, he composes the title track, Coral Rock, on this, was his 1970 release, on the French America label. This is one that was reissued in the US on Arista, so it should be widely available. Again, a long track. I think this is one of his longest tracks. It's almost 22 minutes long, and again, driven by that rhythm section, and then with his flugelhorn. I believe he's on the flugelhorn here. And that's another thing that's very distinctive about Al Shorter, of course, is, he started playing, he actually started playing the alto saxophone while his brother was, of course, a tenor saxophonist, but in 1965-66 he decided to switch to the trumpet, but then also the flugelhorn, which is a very interesting instrument, not very common in jazz, and definitely has, because of its sort of belled shape, has a very distinctive tone, which I think is a lot more sort of somber, yeah, just earthy, just a beautiful tone to his flugelhorn. So yeah, highly recommend check out this track. Choral rock, 22 minutes of just fantastic music. Bobby Few on piano, Bob Reed on bass, Cliff Thornton on trombone, Rashid Ali's brother Muhammad on drums, and some percussionist, Jarman on trumpet here as well. So you got Shorter on flugelhorn and Jarman on trumpet, two masters. Next, he released his own record, and this would be one of his final, his last record as a leader. Again, on the French America label. Here, kind of an oddball lineup. Gary Window, a British tenor saxophonist. Rene Augustus on drums and bells. And the great Johnny Diani, the South African bass player, also playing some piano and some flute on this one. Yeah, and this is much more of a free improv affair, very much in the style of some of the BYG improvisation records that were coming out at the time and that were recorded in France. I believe this was recorded in Paris, if I recall. But again, all original compositions from Shorter. We got another huge sidelong track, Disposition, split into parts 1 and 2. I mean, 26 minutes of music just from that. Then a short piece called Beast of Bash, and then 1 Million Squared to finish off at 8 minutes. And again, the song titles also imply, sort of an interest in mathematics and sort of the, I don't know, just, very interesting influences that he had for sure. He was certainly a strange fellow. I think he earned the nickname Dr. Strange, Doc Strange, because of his sort of eccentric disposition. And yeah, from what I can read, I mean, I think he also had some mental health problems. His story reads a little bit to me like some of the struggles that Albert Eiler went through mentally. And yeah, this is one of the last recordings that he appeared on. He appeared on this fantastic record, Francois Tusk, Intercommunal Music. This is from 1971. He did appear on some other records with Archie Shepp as well in the sort of mid-70s. And I would say on side 1, he kind of disappears a little bit, but you can hear Al Shorter distinctively on side 2. I can't remember if it's which track on side 2, but yeah, you can hear this. I think he's playing the trumpet on this one, actually. Yeah, not the flugelhorn. But yeah, definitely distinctive. Again, not his compositions here, but just figured I'd mention since, this is one of the landmark records of European free improvisation. And, he certainly played an important role, I think, in this recording. Fantastic gatefold on that one, too. Has not been reissued, long overdue for that. So yeah, that's all I had for you today. Just wanted to shed some light on the life of and the compositions of Alan Shorter. I'm sure I missed some things. Biographically, he was a guy that just never really fit in anywhere. He dropped out of the army. He dropped out of Howard University. And eventually he dropped out of music sometime in the mid-70s. Again, I don't know a whole lot of why he decided to leave music. Again, he may have had some mental health issues. But yeah, just an under-recorded, underappreciated artist that just wanted to talk about today. So hope everybody's well and hope everybody enjoyed that montage. Again, that was 1950s sort of sci-fi film that I think he really appreciated, and I thought it was kind of cool with Mephistopheles from 1966. Take care, everyone.